Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics preview show. We really need like a concise name for this.
Definitely. Let's figure that out.
We'll figure it out. If you have any suggestions, let us know. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our show where we're going to go over about 20 of the biggest books that are coming out this week. And let me tell you, there's some big ones.
There's some good ones.
There's some good ones. DC's back after Night Terrors, coming in swinging with some new number ones, continuations of series that I'm very excited about. Marvel's got a lot of cool stuff as well, and some indie stuff, so you're in for a treat. But let's kick it off with your first one.
Yeah, so we're going to start with one of those new DC number ones. This is the new Blue Beetle. This is the start of the new ongoing Blue Beetle series. This is a direct continuation of the Blue Beetle Graduation Day miniseries that just wrapped up not too long ago, which I highly recommend. The trade paperback is out now, like seemingly everywhere. Yeah. So I would, if you can, recommend reading that before this. You don't necessarily have to, but this will explain who these new Beetles are on the cover, why Jaime is in a new city, that kind of thing. So in this one, Jaime is in a new city. He's started his new life. He graduated high school in the last miniseries, and now he is taking on a mentorship role to these two new Beetles on the cover here. That is Dynastest and Natidia. So there's basically a yellow one and a green one. They have had this power for a while, but they don't quite know how to be a hero yet. They make mistakes and things like that. So Jaime is trying to mentor them. At the same time, he is also being mentored by Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle. He knows how to be a hero, but now it's almost like he's going into the next phase of being a hero. Kind of like he
graduated.
He graduated high school. Now he's college age, so now he's in the second phase of his superhero career. So there's some good Jaime Ted Kord moments in here as well. While all this is going on, there's a little bit of unrest in the city because there are some people there who don't want the Horizon, which is an alien race which we met in the last miniseries. The Horizon have been given refuge in that city, but there's some people who don't want them there. So Jaime is also going to be dealing with that, trying to find them a home. They're all being temporarily put up in Kord Industries, but Jaime is trying to figure out where they can live permanently while also dealing with sort of the civil unrest from some of the citizens who don't want them there. So there's a lot going on. Later on in the book, we see Ted Kord in his lab. He's working on some equipment, and there is a new villain whose name I don't think we know yet. So I do believe this is the first appearance of that new villain. A new villain comes in and kind of attacks Ted, and it's not really a spoiler to say he kind of looks like a red beetle, if you will. He doesn't look like Blue Beetle or any of these others. He has his own unique look.
Kind of that one at the bottom.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's this guy. But we actually do get to see him, a full shot of him. He looks really cool. So yeah, I don't know what his plan is or who he is or what he wants or anything like that, but he does show up. So it's very cool. The art in this is fantastic. There's a lot of really great Beetle action, if you will. It's cool to see Ted Kord, and he's in his Blue Beetle suit. We get to see the Bug, and just perfect timing. If you saw the movie and you really want more Blue Beetle, this is a fantastic book to pick up. Pick up Graduation Day first, read that, then read this. If you don't read Graduation Day, that's okay too. You just might be a little bit confused as to like, who are these other Beetles and why are they in this new city, that kind of thing. But I highly recommend this. I had such a good time reading this. I can't wait for more. Everything about it was wonderful. So, yeah, there is Blue Beetle number 1, and that is our A cover. We also have a few variants as well. We have this La Fuente variant. We've got the Hispanic Heritage Month by Lobos. This is the Emmanuel Valtierra variant. Very cool. I guess maybe that's it.
Representing.
Yeah, it's not exactly what it looks like, but that's kind of represents that Red Beetle character. I'm sure we'll learn his name later. This is a blank sketch variant, and again, this is just a protective cover. The actual logo is underneath this cover, and it's all blank. And then we have this 1 in 25 Karen Grant variant that we're selling for $30. That one's really cool. I like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It feels like the movie and the comic kind of, even though different universe, different stuff going on, still feel like they are related.
Yeah.
Especially with his age being a little bit older now and everything.
Yeah, and it's great timing on this and the trade for Graduation Day, because as soon as I saw the movie, I was like, I want to go read more. Finish reading Graduation Day. This comes out, not too long after the movie. Like they're firing on all cylinders right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Next for me is Birds of Prey #1, a brand new Birds of Prey series for DC. This is by Kelly Thompson and the artist by Leonardo Romero. And that's the first thing I want to mention is Romero's art in this is I think I wrote that it's dated but in a good way.
Mm.
Like it
It's
feels
retro.
it's retro, it's
Yeah.
classic, including the coloring too. So it's got a very interesting kind of dull tones to some of the stuff. It's just really cool. It feels like you're reading a classic comic. But the story in this is really neat. So it actually begins with Oliver Queen and Dinah Lance uh, going over a list of potential members to a new Birds of Prey team. They don't call it the Birds of Prey, but you can tell that's kind of what they're working on. And there's a lot of names scratched out. And what the fun part of this is kind of the mystery of like why is this team being put together now? So uh, you can tell there is a reason in the beginning, but you're not privy to it.
Mm.
But it is very fun to see the other names written on there, like Zatanna and some other kind of wild cards that in another book and another team I would like to see some of
Sure.
these characters together. But there's some kind of thing that seems very personal to Black Canary that's why she's putting together this team. Um, so but there's also a twist of a classic member of the Birds of Prey, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, cannot be involved with this, and we don't know why.
Mm.
So it's kind of there. It's setting up this mystery of like it's like we see all the parts, but we don't know kind of the core of it.
Yeah.
Why is this all happening? So most of this issue is recruiting some members. You can see all the members on the cover, so it's not a spoiler to say. But like first is Cassandra Cain, and it's a really interesting way how they're all convinced to join. But all those people when they join, it's because of one reason, and it has something to do with Sin, who is Black Canary's kind of adopted sister daughter from a 2006 um, Birds of Prey series. But they don't
Huh.
quite tell you why, but every time her name's brought up, basically the character goes, "Oh, it has to do with her. Okay, yeah, we'll join." So it's really interesting because I wasn't super familiar with that character. They do a good enough job explaining a little bit of that, but it's cool to see. And it's not Black Canary recruiting all of them because there's so many members. She basically tells Cassandra Cain like, "Hey, I need you to go recruit the next one."
Oh, okay.
And so they split up, and you kind of see how all that
Interesting.
goes. But it's an interesting team because you've got like Big Barda on there, and I think the wild card, of course, is Harley Quinn on this team. But there's a reason why she joins it too, and a reason why Cassandra Cain thinks that Harley Quinn is perfect for this team. And there's a great moment of her saying why, even in her very sparse dialogue. That's really funny. This book has a great sense of humor, but that kind of really cool sense of mystery going on as well. I will say that you do find out most of the information at the end of why all this is happening. So
Okay.
it's not like you're going to be dragged along.
Yeah.
But that opens up even more questions about like, oh wow, then what is the bigger picture? But we do learn, and I'll say it does have a first appearance of a character called Meridian, but it is a character that uh, is a it's a character you may know, but in a different form,
Hmm.
uh, using a different name.
Okay.
But definitely a new suit, everything, and kind of a new backstory that I think is enough to consider it a first appearance. So highly recommend this new Birds of Prey, especially because the character combination, like Zealot on the team, is really interesting. Big Barda's really funny on the team. Cassandra Cain is kind of the heart of the team. Just really, really good. And I'm very excited to see where this series goes from here because it goes from like street level to like we've got to stop something from destroying the world.
Oh.
So just very interesting that kind of keeps you guessing.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what makes you want to come back for the next one. So we've got some variants for this. We've got this Frank Cho wraparound cover. It goes along the back, has all the characters on it. We've got this uh, Chris Bacalo variant. It's very fun. We've got the Art Germ Big Barda cover.
I like that one.
Big Barda kind of reminds me of Thor in this. Like, she kind of talks a little bit like that.
Nice.
We also have this 1 in 25 Nick Bradshaw variant that we're selling for $10.
I really like that. I love the bullet logo and the old school Birds of Prey logo.
It's right in with like the Gail Simone run of Birds of Prey.
Very awesome. Well, I've got a new number 1 from Marvel. This is Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy. This is from Ron Mars and Ron Lim, the same creative team on Silver Surfer Rebirth, the miniseries that just wrapped up not too long ago. And this is another one of those miniseries that is set back in around the time of the 90s. Ron Mars and Ron Lim, the classic 90s Silver Surfer team. So this is around that time. In this one, the issue starts off with Silver Surfer and Janice Vell, who is the Captain Marvel you see here, the original Captain Marvel's son. They encounter this big like planet destroying machine. It actually kind of reminded me of Unicron from the Transformers movie from 1986. But what is it? Is planet mode because it's got this big like mouth and so but it's abandoned, right? They assume that it was a machine that was built a long time ago, but then the people who built it died off, and now it's just floating through space. So they smash it all to pieces in order to save Earth. And then Janice Vell, realizes, it's like, well, Surfer, you did most of the work there. I'm never going to be as good of a hero as my dad, again, the original Captain Marvel was. So Silver Surfer says, well, I have an idea about how you can go back and see him, and it involves the Time Stone, the Infinity Stone, I don't remember if the comics call it stones or gems, but the Time Stone, basically. And again, this was set back in around the 90s, so he makes mention that Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch are watching over all of the Infinity Stones, and that the Time Stone is being held under safekeeping in Adam Warlock's castle. So they actually go to Adam Warlock's castle, and the Infinity Watch are off on a mission. They're like, nobody's there. So Surfer finds the Time Stone and uses it. And the whole time I was like, Silver Surfer is really okay with just like taking an Infinity Gem and just using it. That's weird. And there's a reason for that, but I won't tell you what it is. But there is a reason why he's just so cool with just like almost breaking and entering and then using this like cosmic level device. So they actually do go back to the past, and Janice Vell sees his father, the original Captain Marvel, in action. And it's very inspiring for him. I actually don't want to say anything more because while they're in the past, you discover why Silver Surfer is so cool with using the Time Stone very nonchalantly, just taking it and using it. But we do see at the end that the Infinity Watch comes back, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what have you done?" And it's going to lead to a conflict. So I'll say no more because it was really I probably should have seen it coming, but I didn't. So it was really cool though. So a really good first issue. If you like that '90s era Marvel cosmic stuff with Silver Surfer, Warlock, Infinity Watch, all those guys. This would be great, especially if you like the last miniseries. That I highly, highly recommend this one because it was really fun. It was just good to sort of go back to my childhood, kind of. So we have this A cover here. This is by Ron Lim, right there, and then we have another Ron Lim variant with Janice Vell sort of front and center. Thanos is not in this, so don't get your hopes up if you're looking for a Thanos story. He's not in this issue, at least. I don't know if he's going to pop up later. Then we also, speaking of Thanos who is not in it, we have this John Tyler Christopher negative space variant. I don't think Thanos wasn't in this, but that's still a cool cover. And then we have our Frank Miller variant. I'm not sure whose hand that is. There is not a big hand in this either, so I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, just a really, really fun miniseries. I liked it quite a bit.
Just with Thanos on the cover, just kind of like reminding you what time frame you're dealing with.
Right, yeah, you can't do a 90s cosmic story without Thanos, right?
Okay, next up is a big one. This is X-Men number 26. So as you can see, this is our first cover of the two connecting covers between this and
Iron
Iron Man
Man number 10.
number 10
Yeah.
with Tony Stark on the other side. So this has been a big question among comic readers. What is the story?
Yeah. Why them? Yeah.
Why Emma Frost is marrying Tony Stark? My question was, you see this cover and it looks like the pretty well put together wedding,
Mhm.
and the mutants right now are being hunted. Like, why? How is
Yeah.
all this going on?
Right.
Um, we'll kind of preface it by saying this is. I don't believe this is what any of this is going to look like. I
I
don't think
agree.
the wedding is going to be like this. Even I don't even know if this character will look like this in there, and I'll get into
Yep.
why. So, this takes place. It begins after the Hellfire Gala, but just probably a few minutes after Emma Frost escapes from what's going on during the Hellfire Gala, and she is in the Morlock sewers. I feel like a lot of the stories now have had moments that take place in the sewers
Yeah.
because that's where a lot of the characters are hiding out that have survived.
Yeah. Especially, yeah. Iron Man and Emma Frost have spent a lot of time in the sewers recently.
Yeah, yeah. Which were originally the Morlock tunnels
Sure.
back in Callisto and all of those with the
Mhm.
Morlocks. Um, but this is interesting because I'm not completely caught up on Iron Man, so I'm reading this from the X-Men's perspective. But I remember you talking about Kingpin
Yeah.
and what kind of deal did Kingpin and Emma Frost make? Well, we see a little bit more of that from Emma Frost's side, where she's basically like, I've got to retaliate against what's just happened. I don't know what to do. And Kingpin comes to her and is basically like, well, you need to be careful because they're going to find a way of taking all of your resources and all your money because Emma Frost is very wealthy. And you need that for kind of our fight back against them. And so her and Kingpin are going to make a deal. And that's kind of where this issue kicks off. But most of this is we're actually following Hazel Kendall, who is Emma Frost's disguise so she can be out.
You can almost say like secret identity, but it's not. But it is a
Yeah,
civilian disguise, brown wig.
right. She's got a ring that suppresses her kind of mutant aura or whatever, so the
Yeah.
Sentinels can't find
Yeah.
her. And she's basically being Tony Stark's assistant now that he is the Black King of the Hellfire Club, I believe, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, so a lot of this takes place in the uh, Hellfire Club kind of headquarters. Tony's kind of playing his classic Tony Stark, smooth talking, party guy. But secretly, they're all working behind the scenes.
Mhm.
But that's not all what's going on in this story because we also catch up with Kamala Khan, where what she's doing when she's interning at this, not interning, but she's at this like summer camp
Yeah.
that is
Which
going to
we
be
saw in
yeah,
her
in
series.
her
Yeah.
series. But it's kind of there in this to show you how bad some of the mutant hate is getting when they start attacking people that they're not even sure are mutants. They just look different.
Yeah.
Uh,
They attacked Kamala in her number one last week just simply because she had an X-Men costume on. So
yeah,
they just, I mean, she is a mutant, but
yeah,
they just assumed based on the costume
yeah.
that she was a
So
mutant.
we see Kamala learn how to fight back against this without kind of revealing herself. And we also are following Kate Pride now as her kind of ninja assassin version Shadowcat uh,
With a K.
with a K. And she is very upset with Firestar, who was. It's a complicated thing, but at the end of the Hellfire Gala, essentially Jean Grey put in the minds of all of the Orcus people that Firestar was a double agent when
Yeah.
she actually wasn't. But now Kate Pride doesn't know that, and she is straight up out for revenge.
Oh, okay.
And so she is going to go after Firestar, which you'll have to see what happens there. Really interesting. But I will say, uh, the original solicitation for this issue talked about find out what happens when Emma Frost reveals to the other X-Men that she's marrying Tony Stark. That does not happen in this
Okay.
because the proposal happens at the very end of this book, like literally last panel, and it is nothing like what you think it's going to be. It is I think I described it to you like a Seth Rogen rom-com way
Mhm.
of this going down. The proposal where it's going to kick off zany events. So this whole wedding is going to look very different than what you think it originally what we all thought it was going to look like.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give away how that goes down, why he proposes, all of that, but you will find out in this issue, and it makes me very excited to read Iron Man number 10 to find out how does this continue.
Yeah, because
Uh,
Iron Man number 10 is supposed to be where the wedding actually happens, but like you said, I don't think it's going to look like
no,
this at all.
no, there's not going to be Emma Frost wearing white with everyone in attendance. No, nothing like that. But it's a very nice cover. So that is our A cover for this. We also have, of course, our Alex Ross connecting. This may be the last one since
Yeah,
it's the final
I think
cover
so.
of the thing. We've got our Mark Brooks corner box variant. Love that team.
Hmm.
We've got our Molina. I believe that's like the X-Men 60th anniversary special. We've got a Russell Dodderman trading card variant as well with Miss Marvel.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, X Men and Iron Man are both written by Jerry Duggan, which is so it makes sense. But like the synergy between the X Men books and the last few issues of Iron Man has been pretty remarkable. Like
Yeah,
they're in lockstep with each other. So if you want to know more about what happens in that issue, like Emma's deal with the Kingpin and stuff, go pick up Iron Man number 9, which only came out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that gives you more. But these, it's funny, like Iron Man and X Men books put together make one story, but it's pretty.
they
You know,
work very
they work
well.
very well together. Yeah, it's really cool. All right, so next up, I have a new one from Image called "Kill Your Darlings." This is the first issue. Do we know if it's a
I
miniseries
believe
or?
it's a miniseries.
Yeah, this one is written by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan with art by Robert Quinn. The art in this and the colors too. I didn't get the colorist name, but fantastic.
Yeah,
Like it looks, this book visually looks so good, and the covers, it's nice cardstock. The pages are real glossy. Like it's a really well put together book. Um, so the first couple pages of this are actually set back in 1962 that shows a young girl getting burned alive at the stake. I guess it's one of those tales of the villagers think that a young girl is either possessed by a witch or maybe she's a possessed or maybe they think maybe she's a witch or possessed by a demon or something like that. We don't quite know. But she gets burned at the stake and her parents are there watching, they're letting it happen. But then it jumps to present day and it centers on a little girl named Rose. And even though she's a little girl, she has this big imagination, right? So we see her pretending to have this big battle with her and her stuffed animals, and she has like factions. She has one set of stuffed animals lined up over here, and then the opposing faction over there. So we're seeing her just in her bedroom and these stuffed animals, but then we see what she's imagining, and she's imagining herself in like this fantasy land, and all of a sudden the stuffed animals have come to life and they're talking and they're charge and that kind of thing. So we see what she's imagining and we see what's happening in the real world kind of at the same time, which is really cool. Meanwhile, her mom is super stressed out about money, and uh, you know Rose wants her mom to come play and she can't. She's got to make all these phone calls about all these bills and things she's got. So one day Rose comes home from school and she goes into her room and she starts to color. She's going to play and stuff, but she almost gets taken over by something, or it looks like maybe she becomes possessed because her eyes roll back in her head and she kind of, does this thing right here. And then she gets up and she gets up, and then we see, well, let me just show you the variant cover. We see kind of see that. You see her stuffed animals are all torn up in her bedroom. But then we see the fantasy version of that, and they look like they're all cut up and bloody and everything like that. And in the fantasy land, she walks and she finds this mysterious cave with this voice, like these big hands come out of the cave. We don't see what it is, but this voice starts talking to her. While in the real world, we see her opening the door to her basement.
mm,
So don't really know what's going on there. And there's a little bit more that happens near the end that I don't want to tell you about. I don't want to spoil it. But it does seem like there's some supernatural, maybe whatever the villagers back in the 1600s thought the little girl was possessed by. Maybe Rose is possessed by that now. We don't know. We have no idea yet. But this happy-go-lucky girl who likes to play and imagine, play pretend with her stuffed animals, there's something more to come, and it's dark and sinister. So a really, really interesting issue. I really enjoyed this first one. I really want to see what happens, and then combined with the really fantastic art and colors, the physical quality of the book, this one is a really, really fantastic read. I highly recommend this. So yeah, Kill Your Darlings #1. That is our A cover, and then I'll show you again. And this is from Ryan Stegman. So, very cool, disturbing. And that's kind of what she looks like too. When she comes home after school, her eyes sort of roll back in the back of her head and weird things start to happen. So I highly recommend this one. If you're looking for a new sort of spooky supernatural book, this is a great one to get.
Awesome. And before we go any further, just want to remind you to head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these books right now that are available. You can pre-order comics. Everything you pre-order, you get 10% off of. You can start your own subscription with us where we mail them to you. Or if you're local, you can come by and pick them up. Everything, though, that you pre-order, you get 10% off of. And I think that is pretty great.
It is great.
We also wanted to let you know that you can use the code I love Flux at checkout and get 10% off your first order. So if you haven't ordered from us before, use that code, get 10% off. Subscribe to series, get 10% off. We're giving away 10% off.
Yeah. And
everywhere you look.
That 10% stacks with the 10% pre-order as well. So
we're crazy.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't even do that. But go ahead and do it before our minds.
Do it before we realize, wait a minute, that's 20%. That's a lot.
Wait, what? But yes, do it now and become one of our valued customers / family members.
Yep.
But when you're a family member, you are obligated to come to all family functions.
That's right. When you're here, you're family.
Olive Garden stole it from us. Okay, continuing on, I have a new indie book from Boom called Hunt for the Skinwalker. So this is super cool. I know when they originally solicited, it was like kind of like Department of Truth.
Yeah.
I'll say it's different than that. You do have the cover here that's done by Simmons, which is very Department of Truth. You know, he's the artist for that. But this is by Zach Thompson with art by Valeria Burzo. And you may have heard of the Skinwalker Ranch. There's a Discovery Channel show or a History Channel about the Skinwalker Ranch. But it is a real place that is known for being like a hot spot for just weird stuff, whether it be kind of like alien things, UFOs being seen, weird creatures that come onto the land, all of that. But this is based on true accounts. So this is based on a book that came out in 2006 that when some people went and did some research at this ranch, and those writers are heavily involved with the book as well to kind of adapt it into comic form. So it's kind of an adaptation of this book, but definitely doesn't, this is a comic for sure. But it's less driven by like internal monologues or characters. It definitely has kind of a third person narrative that is nice because stuff is so weird. It kind of walks you through these accounts and everything. So it's the ranch of Ellen and Tom Gorman, and this Skinwalker Ranch, is kind of a classic. It was like built upon a Native American place where there was believed to be these skinwalkers, which were these people who would dress up in the skins of animals, and they would have weird rituals and that kind of thing, and you kind of see some history on that. But this begins with this couple who move into this ranch, and immediately stuff starts happening. So it kind of starts with something simple like the wife goes and puts up the groceries, and she turns around, and they're all still on the table. Which is like, and it keeps saying like they didn't talk to each other about these weird things because it's like, I'm just, it's nothing. I just thought I did something. He, moves, or he looks up at something, but he's got like a farm tool that he sits down and he turns around, the farm tool's gone. But it's these very mundane things, and it starts to escalate where one day they're out and they see something coming out of the woods that appears to be like a giant dog or a wolf, but it's neither one of those things, but it has this look of this thing, but it seems very docile, and like he even like pets it. But he fears for his cattle, so he ends up shooting at this
Oh,
creature. It's a very, but it's these things keep escalating to where suddenly you're starting to see strange lights, and there's some kind of like UFO like weird cube in the sky. There's footprints of like a man's footprint, but it's giant. It's a lot of weird stuff going on, and you're kind of watching this family who seem to be pretty stable people who they're like, oh, that's weird, but we're just continuing to farm this
yeah.
land as it just increases and gets crazier and crazier. So this is going to be a 4-issue miniseries, and stuff gets crazy already in this first issue. There are some flashbacks to like the early days of this farm and maybe some of the stuff that went on with different people who live there. But if you are a fan of kind of the weird paranormal, those kind of like could be based on true events or at least true accounts of stuff that happened. There's even a message in the end of this where it kind of breaks down. It's from one of the writers about all of these occurrences, the history of them writing the book, all of that. So you kind of get a perspective of where this comic is coming from. They seem very grateful for it to be in a comic book form, to be able to have a wider audience. So it's just really cool. I really enjoyed this. It's an easy read. It's a very interesting read, especially because it's based on a real
Yeah.
place. And you may have heard of this place and want to find out more about it. So, yep, Hunt for the Skinwalker. Very cool #1 issue that, uh, you know, it's less like heavy narrative driven like Department of Truth, but still tickles that like weird, possibly
Yeah.
true storytelling. We also have this variant for Vilches. It's very creepy.
It reminds me of what is the James Tynion book? Blue
Oh, Blue
the
Book.
yeah, Blue Book,
Yeah, I
where
believe the Blue Book also crosses over this a little bit
oh
because there was Blue Book's a real like document or whatever
yeah.
that's kind of them investigating these weird things, and I think there's like a document on
Okay.
this ranch
Because it's
in
a
there.
comic book, but it's based on true events that kind of which we don't have that many of.
Yeah,
So it sounds like
it's
reminds
it's
me of
very
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so next is one of the other new #1s from DC. This is Fire and Ice Welcome to Smallville. This is going to be, I think, a 6-issue miniseries. I'm pretty
They usually
sure.
put it on the cover.
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Um, so this takes place after the short backup story from the Power Girl special that I want to say came out at the end of May, maybe. Although
Hmm.
that seems like a long time ago, though. But um, so Fire and Ice, after the events of that, at Superman's suggestion, they moved to Smallville to sort of figure out what their place is in the world. They've been kind of having button heads with each other a little bit lately, which is odd because they're the best of friends, right? But they've been having some disagreements. They've been, like I said, button heads. So they moved to Smallville just to sort of figure all this out. Who are we? Who do we want to be? Also, why are we so at each other's throats all the time? Let's take a beat. Let's go to this small town and figure it all out. So they rent a hair salon to live in and sort of operate out of, and I guess they're gonna run it too because they actually hire a character. I don't remember what her name is, but she used to work there and she knows how to. Ice says we're not hiring right now. Sorry. She's like, oh, so do you know how to do hair and nails and all that stuff? And Ice is like, oh well, no. So I guess you're hired then. So I guess they're gonna run the store. I'm not too sure, but Ice is actually very excited to live a quieter life in a smaller town, kind of settle down, slow down, things like that. But Fire is having none of it. She wants to prove herself as a hero. So she makes this video, she posted on social media that basically challenges anybody who wants to come fight her, like super villains. Hey, we're in Smallville. So if you want a piece, come get us, that kind of thing. So King Shark actually shows up, and King Shark, and this is pretty fun. So he comes to town. He comes barreling through, the main street of Smallville, ready to accept a challenge. But before Fire can even get out to fight him, Superman shows up and just like wraps a lamp pole around him and just beats him instantly like that. So Fire gets all mad about that again, and then things kind of escalate. Ice gets really fired up with
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
mean that. Ice gets really, really irritated with Fire and says, you're inviting danger to a small town just to appease your big ego, that kind of thing. And they they kind of split up, even though they're living in the same place. They have a falling out. I'm sure it'll all be reconciled. But then at the end, Fire calls up somebody. I won't tell you who, but I was excited to see who it was when I saw it at the end. But she says, "Hey, I need you to come to Smallville and let's basically stage a fight for social media purposes, so that we can get paid, but so also I can show that I'm a big hero, that kind of thing." So it's really cool. Like we haven't seen Fire and Ice in a long time. It feels like it's been, I don't even know, like before New 52,
Yeah.
maybe they popped in one or two places, but it feels like it's been a long, long time since we've seen these.
Kind of Brightest Days the last time I
Yeah,
remember
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because Ice was dead, right? Wasn't she one of the Black Lanterns that came back?
Yeah, she also had a relationship with Dead Man for a while.
Okay.
Because she's one of the few people that can see him. I don't know.
Oh.
It was an interesting story.
Yeah, and it was cool because Guy Gardner was in that short story in the Power Girl special,
Yeah.
and he and no, him and Ice, right? He and Ice used to have a relationship. Or was it Fire?
I thought it was Ice and Dead Man, and I don't remember if Fire was with
I don't
Guy
know.
Gardner or not.
No, it was Ice because she had the button and she called Guy Gardner to come help.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was, yeah. He's not in this though. I don't know why I mentioned that, but yeah, just really fun. If you're a big fan of Fire and Ice and you want to see a whole book dedicated to them, because again we haven't seen them in seems like over a decade, and this is really cool. And Martha Kent is very prevalent through all this too. So she takes on a very motherly role because at first they were going to go stay at the Kent house. But for I don't remember why, but for some reason that didn't end up working, so they got that hair salon instead. But Martha Kent shows up, brings them a pie. She goes to lunch with Ice. She's a central figure in this too. So yeah, just really fun. A little bit more on the lighthearted side, but that's not a bad thing at all. It's good to have different flavors of books. So very cool. We have our A cover here, and actually, we don't have any variants, so I'm not sure if there are any that are coming out.
I think there was variants, but we might have already pulled them for our
Yeah.
customers, and that was all.
Yeah, so we don't have any extras, but this one is available on the website if you're
It's a
interested.
great Terry Dodson cover.
That
Terry
is- yeah.
Dodson and
Yeah,
Rachel
that's
Dodson
great.
doing all the covers.
Yeah,
It's great.
for sure.
I love what DC is doing with, they're not all getting ongoing series, but they're systematically going through and giving characters kind of, hey, let's like pull these from whenever we saw them last and like reset them up here currently. So, Hawk Girl, Fire and Ice, we've got, Green Arrow, we got Green Lantern, Hal Jordan back, John Stewart, Dead Man in the Night Terrors.
Yeah.
It's just like bringing all these characters that, um, Batman was such a singular unit who's had such a character, moments just for years and years and years. It's like, hey, let's get everybody back up to even ground.
Even Blue Beetle, although Blue Beetle did have a series all throughout the New 52 and afterward, a Rebirth series, they're still putting focus on. I just love the emphasis they're putting on everybody, not just Batman.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, just across the board, it's great. Speaking of highlighting some characters, we've got Justice Society of America #6. So this is really cool. I think we finally know that this is a 12-issue series.
Right.
But it definitely feels like the last issue kind of wrapped up the first part of the story, and I'm actually more interested in what's going forward from here on. So, of course, this is written by Jeff Johns, and this picks up a lot of the threads that were left by Stargirl, the previous Stargirl miniseries, where there's all of these former sidekicks to Golden Age characters who have been like kind of magically forgotten about.
Yeah.
And now that they're coming back, there's different ways that people are remembering them. So a big thing in this is Judy Garrick, the daughter of Jay Garrick and his wife. It even says in a caption like, they never had children, or so they thought. And she comes in, Stargirl brings her in, and it even says like, as he starts to remember her, they hug, and people all over the world hear like distant thunder and see lightning, and it's them making that connection again. And it says like, and then suddenly everybody remembered that Judy Garrick was the sidekick of Jay Garrick. And so it's like, okay, so how are all of these characters going to be coming back into the main DC universe? So that's a big part of this. And a big part of this too is, and this is, I feel like, where this could be a straightforward story, but Jeff Johns does have that emotional edge he can bring into it, because these are characters from like the 40s. Every time you see them, it says like, last seen 1943 or something like that. So as they come back, they're coming back into a world that one didn't remember them. Also, their family and their former heroes they were sidekicks to are some of them are dead or
Yeah.
gone or whatever, and they don't all have that emotional comeback like Judy does. Some of them are coming back to nothing, and Stargirl's helping them kind of cope with that, which is I feel like the real heart of this issue and what the series is going to be going forward. The other big thing is Helena Wayne, who is the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle from a alternate future, has met up with Bruce Wayne and kind of prevented his death in the future, thus wiping out her time frame. So she's kind of one of those like displaced out of time, doesn't quite have a home now.
She met up with Bruce Wayne on the main Earth or in her Earth?
The main Earth,
Okay.
because her dad was Bruce Wayne in her Earth, but she actually caught up with him in this one. And basically, in the previous issue was like, I know I'm not supposed to do this. It's breaking all of the
Oh,
time
right.
travel
Yeah.
rules, all that. But she does because it's her dad, and she
Yeah.
wants to have that moment with him. Well, now Bruce Wayne is actually like, okay, like this is all weird stuff, but I'm Batman. Like it's not that weird for me. And
I've seen
he
everything.
basically sets her up in an apartment in New York because he says, "You said you want to be close to the Justice Society. They're in New York. You're welcome in Gotham." One thing I thought was really interesting in this is she's like, "I don't really want to see Mom right now," which is Selena. And Bruce is like, "Why?" She's like, "You're about to have one of your famous fights," and it says like, "See Gotham War."
Okay. Okay.
So it is, even in her timeline, the Gotham War stuff happened. But that's the other interesting part of this is Helena meets back up with Power Girl, who Power Girl is from her timeline as well, back in the World's Finest series with
Mhm.
Huntress and Power Girl, and they are going to attempt to recreate the Justice Society from their timeline in this one. But that may include bringing in some villains who were members of the Justice Society from their timeline as well. So it seems like that's going to be our story going forward. But overall, this was a really good issue. I actually found myself reading a little bit slower because like I felt like the dialogue, like I was reading it in real time
Yeah.
type thing. It was really good. I'm excited for people to read it, and I feel like more people should be talking about Justice Society of America because a lot of big things are happening in there. Plus, we're going into the new Golden Age
That's
books,
right.
and this kind of sets up a lot of those as well. So that is Justice Society of America #6, and I only have this cover for it right now.
All right. So next up is where we at? Doctor Strange #7. Another fantastic issue. So last issue, kind of took a break from the main story so that we could be introduced to General Strange. We saw that Doctor Strange was sort of plucked out of time essentially and sort of forced to fight in this war called the War of the Seven Spheres that lasted for 5,000 years. And we saw how that changed him, turned him from the kind and gentle Doctor Strange into the very ruthless General Strange. And then we saw at the end of that issue that the Vishanti uh, they made a truce with, I don't remember the name of the faction that they were at war with, but they made a truce. And General Strange was very mad about it. It's like, I've fought this war for 5,000 years only for you guys to just like sign a truce or whatever. And they saw how ruthless it had become, so they split the General Strange persona from the Stephen Strange persona, and they locked the General Strange persona in a bucket, basically,
In an old pail.
yeah, and they are like, and then they put Stephen Strange, they put him back where they got him from. So all that happened last issue. Sorry for the recap, but in this issue, Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, comes face to face with General Strange. So he, at the end of issue number 765, he popped up at the end of the issue at Clea's mother's wedding to Tibero. Her mother is Umar. She's marrying Tibero, and General Strange popped up at the end. So this actually kind of takes place right right on the tail end of issue number 5, and then 6 was kind of in between telling us who General Strange was. So anyway, General Strange is determined to restart the War of the Seven Spears because he says, after 5,000 years, I devoted 5,000 years to that. By golly, we're going to go to war and there's going to be a victor. But in order to fight a war, you have to have soldiers. So he kidnaps the baby of Tibero and Umar, which again is Clea's mother. It's not a baby that they made via, let's say, traditional means, but it's a baby that was born of magic, that kind of thing.
And love.
And well, I don't know about that, but definitely a baby still. So General Strange kidnaps that baby. And even though Tibero and Umar are enemies of Doctor Strange, he does pledge that I will, me and Clea, we will get your baby back, that kind of thing. So Strange and Clea, they go back home, back to the Sanctum Sanctorum to regroup. And she tells him that she's like, look, I know that you're a good guy. You don't want to kill anybody, but General Strange is too powerful. He has 5,000 years of war experience, experience being a sorcerer, that kind of thing. We have to kill him. And if I remember correctly, Stephen Strange actually sort of agrees to that. And then there's a little bit more at the end that I won't tell you about, but just really good. It's really interesting stuff. Like I didn't actually start reading this series at the beginning, but I'm all in on this whole General Strange storyline now. And looking ahead at the solicitations, he's around for a few more issues, I think. So this is like the big thing that's going on with Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange versus I guess sort of an evil corrupted version of himself that has 5,000 years of battle hardened experience, right? So it's really cool. I like it a lot. So this is our A cover, and I guess this is another one where we here at the store don't have any variants. We just have the A cover, but what an A cover it is! It's nice Alex Ross cover. So yeah, very very cool Doctor Strange.
And next up for me, Amazing Spider-Man number 33. So this is I wouldn't say the first, I don't think they consider it like the first part of the uh Spider-Man's first hunt. Is that what they're calling that?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like
I
that.
think that's it, yeah.
Um, but in the last issue, we did see that there was this spear that was imbued with Norman Osborn's sins that were taken out of him during the Sin Eater storyline. But essentially, Craven wants to hunt Spider-Man's greatest villain, which would be Green Goblin. So he wants to put those sins back in Green Goblin, back in Norman Osborn to recreate the Goblin. Um, but it didn't go that way when Spider-Man jumped in the way and got stabbed with the spear, and all of Norman Osborn's sins went into Spider-Man. Now that's where we pick up this issue where Peter is very dark in this. It's a very, you're almost not seeing it from his perspective. It's almost like he's so dark you're watching it from an outsider's perspective, as he now suddenly starts feeling this anger towards Craven, where he's like, "You buried me alive. You did all this stuff. I'm gonna hunt you now." But I feel like it's a little play off of the spider thing that he's not just gonna go straight after Craven. He's gonna kind of play with his food first.
Okay.
So you'll have to see what that means. But a lot of this issue is following Craven as he is kind of coming to terms with like, I don't quite know this feeling. Oh wait, I now feel the feeling of all of the animals I've hunted. And that's this fear that I'm being hunted by a predator. And so there's a fair amount of dialogue in reading this book, but a lot of it is kind of this chase, this hunt between Spider-Man and Craven. And Spider-Man definitely has some traps laid for Craven that are very personal to him.
Personal to Craven?
To
Okay.
Craven as kind of a little bit of revenge against some things him or his father have done. But yeah, that's kind of his way of playing with his prey that you'll have to see. But very dark issue, and Peter is back in the black suit. Now it's not the symbiote black suit. See black suits from Craven's Last Hunt in that time frame. But it is cool to see him back in that.
Yeah, I love the black
it
suit.
means it means trouble when he's wearing that. So very interesting issue, and I'm very interested to see what comes out of this because it feels like I mentioned earlier, like they're swinging really far one way to like a dark Peter, that I'm hoping that the pendulum swings the other way, and this is kind of gonna launch him into a bright new future once all of this settles. We'll have to see, but it was an interesting beginning to this storyline. So this is our A cover by Ramita Jr. We've got this Joey Vasquez variant. Craven is caught in Spider-Man's
Ooh.
webs. If you don't get that joke, we've got this one that really sells the issue. Daisy Duck is Miss Marvel. No, this is one of the Disney 100 variants. So if you're collecting all of those, this is your next one.
Yeah, I saw that cover as we were getting all of our stuff sorted. I was like, wait a minute, I thought Miss Marvel #1 came out last week. And you're like, it's Spider-Man. I was like, oh, yeah.
Fooled again.
Fooled again. You got me. All right, so next up is The Sacrificers #2. This is the new book from Rick Remender over at Image. In this one, there's not a lot that actually that not a lot of major things happen in this issue, but it's still important because we get a little bit more insight as to what the characters, what the sacrificers, the characters who are being sacrificed. We get a little bit more insight into what they think about it all. So most of the issue is actually just them, and there's several of these young individuals, and some of them look like humans. Some of them, the main character or that we're following, he looks like a bird. They actually get pick up another one who kind of looks like a skinny anthropomorphic orca, with the white underneath, and then all I don't know if that's what she is, but that's kind of what I thought when I saw her. So there's a whole bunch of these characters who are going to be sacrificed for the greater good of this utopian society they live in, and they're all chained up, and they literally walk across I don't know how far they go, but they mentioned that they've been walking for weeks. So they're walking across the land. But what I found interesting is that I didn't really pick up on in the first issue is they don't really know where they're going. Some of them don't know why they're going there, that kind of thing. Like, it's all a big mystery. Like, I thought that, after reading the first issue, like, it was known that, every family has to give up one of their children to sacrifice for the good of the land. But they're essentially children, right? They don't really know. They have different ideas. They've heard different rumors about where they're going, how far away it is, what it's going to look like when they get there, that kind of thing. So just that's what most of the issue is just them talking about what they think is going to happen. And at the end, they do get to where they're going. And we do see what it is, and it was not what I was expecting. So, which made me think maybe this whole book isn't kind of what we thought it was. But I don't know. I mean, it was the last page, so I don't know. But it did raise some questions. It did make me want to see what's going to happen next. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, or maybe it's just I don't know. But it just definitely wasn't what I was expecting at all. So it was still really, really good, though. We get to see, we get to learn more about these characters, that kind of thing. So if you read the first issue, definitely don't miss this one because it was really good. So we have our A cover right there, and then we have a couple of variants. This is the Fumura and McCaig variant. So that's your interior artist right there, I believe. Yeah, that's your interior artist. And then we have this 1 in 10 Canetti variant that we're selling for $8.
Next up, I've got another DC book. Now that they are continuing, it is Shazam #3. So this book continues to be a blast. You can see on the cover there, it says this ship is bananas. And that's pretty accurate.
Bananas, the ship.
That's how we all know to spell bananas.
Thanks, Gwen Stefani.
So in this one, if you remember what was happening before, where Shazam being a good guy, all of that, everything was going well until he tried to save somebody, and when they interviewed him, he just had this outburst of horrible things to say.
Tourette's.
Yeah, he couldn't help it, and it was very bad PR for him.
Yeah.
But he didn't know why he did it, and we start to learn why that is. So in this one, he has quit being the captain because he doesn't want another thing like that to happen. It even has a part where his fan page, they change it to be a Metamorpho fan page. And all the people in the comments are like, "This is dumb. This was a bait and switch." All of this stuff. So that was a really fun thing. But so he's just Billy. He kind of realizes his weaknesses now. He says running feels like he's running with cinder blocks on his feet. He's having a hard time in school because he's kind of not using those abilities he has, because we know on the other side, the characters that make up Shazam Solomon and Atlas and Hercules
Yeah.
and all of those are not happy with how he was using their powers, and they're going to attempt to ruin him. Uh,
Didn't they say in the first issue, like, hey, nobody, the wizard didn't ask us
yeah,
to use our powers, he just did it. And I was like, oh, that's, like
yeah.
copyright infringement or something.
So they're not too happy about it. So that is why they're going to try to mess with Billy's life. And they're each kind of taking turns, being like, "You didn't mess it up. He kept going. Now it's my turn." And kind of Atlas is the main one in this that messes up things. And they all kind of like poke fun at each other, like, "You're so gullible." And he's like, "I am not." And they're like, "Oh, then will you hold the sky for me for a second? I got to go adjust my shoulder pad." And he's like, "Ah." So they all kind of take their turns trying to mess with him. And one of them comes out. It's basically like, you can't coax, the captain to come out. Uh, I'm gonna do something that's gonna change that because he knows how good of a person Billy is. So he's gonna cause a bus to, like, something happens and the bus starts careening like out of
Hmm.
control, and Billy's like, I am the only one who can stop this. So he changes into the captain, only to discover that it is a visiting party of 8 people from Gorilla City who are there on a kind of a, like, I don't know, like, See America tour slash like capital thing. I don't know. It's really funny, but it's a bus full of monkeys. And they're like, "Oh no, we're late for our thing now. We've got to get back to Gorilla City." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna take you there," but he's very worried what's gonna happen. That he's gonna be like this for so long. So it's a really fun issue, even though it's dealing with, like, kind of, I don't know. Part of me was like, "Oh no, it's gonna be one of those, like, he doesn't have his powers anymore." It's like,
Hmm.
no, he doesn't. But even when he does and doesn't, it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So you'll have to read it to find out what happens. But it does involve maybe stealing a weapon from the Emperor of the Moon, and you'll have to see what that means. But you could say it's the first appearance of the Emperor of the Moon, but you'll have to read it to find out. Just a super fun issue of Shazam. And we do have a variant cover for this. This is the John Timms variant. So nice, Night Terrors was fun, but it's nice to be back in the
Yeah,
swing of some of our favorites.
definitely. Speaking of some of our favorites, I have got Batman number 137 right here. This is part two of the Gotham War. Part one was in the Batman Catwoman, the Gotham War Battle Lines one shot that came out last week. So everything continues right here. So in this, after the events of, or after the end of the last part, Batman is more determined than ever to shut down Catwoman's entire operation. He's going after all of her henchmen, who are not hurting people, but they are committing like burglaries and stuff. They're robbing from billionaires and that kind of thing. So Batman actually comes after them, but he's a little bit excessive. Like he's a little bit extreme coming after these guys to the point where the other members of the Bat family feel like they need to step in and confront him. Uh, Tim Drake is the first one to confront him, and Batman's like, "Oh, what are you going to try to stop me now?" And Tim's like, "Well, no, but I just want to talk to you." And Batman's like, "Don't get in my way," or I'll whatever. So the Bat family's like, we gotta put a leash on him basically. Um, Catwoman and Red Hood, we saw last issue that they're gonna kind of sort of work together. Red Hood wants to try to convince Batman that what Catwoman's doing isn't so bad. So they actually try to set a trap for him for Batman. Of course, Batman being Batman, he sees it coming, and that actually leads to a really cool sequence that I'll let you see for yourself. But after all that, I mean, it does wind up where the most of the Bat family fights Batman, and we get a cool few pages of Batman taking all of them on. And it's not because, and I know there's a little bit of misgivings about this issue and this story. The Bat family isn't fighting Batman because they agree with what Catwoman's doing and they want to let her keep doing it. They just feel like Batman is being too extreme with how he is going so hard after Catwoman. That's why they're against Batman, not because they're real
Or
with.
maybe something that's pushing Batman
Yeah.
past extremes. If you've been reading this Batman series, you know that there's something kind of in the shadows
Yeah, I'm
that's,
not. Yeah, I'm not convinced that Batman is doing this of his own accord,
yeah.
right? So again, the Bat family isn't all 100% gung ho for what Catwoman's doing, but they're like, "Hey, Batman, you're being a little extra right now. You need to settle down, right?" So after all that happens, Batman goes back to his brownstone, takes off his costume, but then the Bruce Wayne side of Batman actually gets some news that he is going to have, like from the Bruce Wayne side of his personality, that he's going to have to deal with. And at the very last page, we see another character that we haven't seen in a while. I was surprised to see that character, and it just makes you think, gosh, now that character is involved, what is that going to mean for all of this? So I thought this was fantastic. I loved the first part of this. I thought it was really interesting how, oh, Catwoman's doing bad things, but nobody's getting hurt. And it does have some positives to it. That's kind of interesting and all this. So I really like this issue. Again, part two. This is an 8-part thing running through the course of Batman and Catwoman, and there's going to be a little Red Hood 2-issue thing there. So I loved it. I recommend it. Jorge Jimenez is on art, which so the book looks incredible. So yeah, we have our A cover here. We've got some variants as well. This is the Rose Besh, the little baby. Is there an official name for this?
They're just I think they're called the creator variants.
Yeah.
Artist Spotlight.
Yeah, Artist Spotlight. But yeah, they all just look like little, super deformed,
Little
like chibi characters. We have this Hispanic Heritage Month by Villalobos. I think I said Lobos on the last one, but it's Villalobos.
Sometimes he shortens it.
Yeah, I think that's why. Yeah, he just signs it Lobos. Yeah, right there. We have this really nice Delato cover of Batman and Catwoman. They are not that chummy in this issue. Here is our Casada. I believe this is a connecting variant.
Yeah.
Yep. Very nice there. And we have a couple of incentives. We have a 125 La Roca variant, which we're selling for $15. And then we have a 1 in 50 Casada connecting black and white variant that we're selling for $20.
Very cool. Next up, I've got a couple of Star Wars books, starting out with Star Wars Dark Droids #2. So this continues the Dark Droids storyline, the Scourge, which is kind of this this entity, kind of a little bit of a dark side entity, also kind of a droid entity, has been spreading from droid to droid in the galaxy because it wants to kind of be the ultimate power, of course. But there's also this church of sentient droids that's led by Ajax Sigma, is this droid who is all for droids gaining sentience, and this thing that's basically taking that ability away from droids and all becoming kind of a one mind thing is definitely works against what Ajax wants. So those two are kind of our rival sides in this. But the tagline of Dark Droids was like, first it comes for the metal. That's what, and it was like ...
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
Now you kind of learn what the follow-up that is, and it seems to be first it comes for the metal, then it comes for the meat.
Oh!
Because this thing, this Scourge wants more than just the droids. It knows that it will never be like 100% if it doesn't also find a way to take over, sentient beings. And it's way into that because it thinks, it even has possessed C-3PO and made C-3PO talk to Luke and be like, hey, has there ever been like droids that have the Force? And Luke's like, well, I mean, the Force is part of everything, so like we've never seen it, but in theory, the Force is everywhere and works through everything, so there could be a chance. And then C-3PO is like, but what about like your hand? Like you have a cyborg hand, can you use the Force through it? And he's like, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than like I use it through it, but he's like, yeah, like it doesn't hinder my Force abilities. And it's like, okay, cool, that's all I wanted to know.
Mm.
And so instead of maybe it needs to take over all sentience, maybe it can create some cyborgs. That's where we get one of the most horrific scenes in all Star Wars, where you see some people mashed up with droids.
Ooh,
you want to see a gonk droid with human legs?
Nope, I don't want to see that actually.
R2 has those little arms that can come out the front, like pick stuff up. What if those were people arms?
Don't want to think about it.
Just real gross.
Can't unsee that.
So it's really interesting. I'm still not sure how they're gonna stop this crazy big thing going on. But we do see, I believe, where the D Squad book is going to come into play with R2 leading his own gang of droids that's coming up. We kind of see the kickoff for that. And who's the ultimate hybrid cyborg that it thinks, that person's part human, part droid, and part Force user? There's kind of a big guy wearing all black armor that we
Oh
might be
yeah.
focusing on next. So that is Dark Droids number 2. And then we also have Star Wars issue number, I could read on it, but 38. And this one continues the story of Lando, who's trying to get help for a Lobot, who is, if they don't find help for him soon, it could be fatal to Lobot, his best friend. He's going to go to Jabba's palace, where the droid that can save Lobot is, but things, of course, are not going to go well as Jabba's palace has been taken over by these Scourge droids. Plus, it features a cameo appearance by Boba Fett, who apparently is on his own adventure that I really want to see.
Oh yeah, you showed me that.
But apparently, he just walks in and he's just like shooting all these droids. Is like, you should probably leave.
Yeah.
And that's a book I want to see somewhere. So that is Star Wars issue 38, also a Dark Droids tie-in.
I like on this one real quick. Like I've never seen C-3PO look menacing before or evil, but he looks pretty sinister right there.
It's pretty dark. So we do have quite a few variants for this. We have this super cool John Tyler Christopher variant.
Love the action figure variants.
Yep. We've got this Rachel Stott variant for Dark Droids. We've got this Casanova's connecting variant. And then for Star Wars, we have the Casanova's connecting variant for that one. We also have this Clone Wars 15th anniversary just cover with Commander Cody. We've got the Sprouse Lucasfilm 40th anniversary cover.
I like those too.
And we have the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant for Star Wars as well, with a battle droid.
I want to see a battle droid that looks sinister like C-3PO does.
Well, one of the covers, we have one of those. Yeah, there's kind of one in the background of that one.
Oh,
the
yeah,
kind of
okay.
greenish one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so next up I have got Moon Knight number 27. We're getting into the I forgot the name of the storyline. The last days of Moon Knight or something like that. And we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. So what's funny about this is I thought that while Moon Knight was going to be in that City of the Dead miniseries, that this book was just all going to be Hunter's Moon. But it's not. Moon Knight and Hunter's Moon both are fully in this. So I guess Cities of the Dead takes place at a different time or something. But in this one, so last issue was all Hunter's Moon, and he went underground, under New York, and he ran afoul of a bunch of, or actually, he went under because some Moloids came seeking his help because somebody was down there drilling holes all over the place, right? So, and we learned in that one that it was this villain named Vibro who was working with Black Spectre. So in this one, Moon Knight and Hunter's Moon, they, through comic book magic, I won't get into too much of it here, but they actually enter the mind of Vibro to learn where Black Spectre is and what his plans are. So they actually get in there, they learn it all. So Vibro has been, like I said, we saw it last year, he's been supervising drilling operations under in the bedrock underneath New York. And the Black Spectre's plan is, once all those holes are drilled, then he's going to use the sound powers of a villain named Sarnak. He's going to, like, they said he's basically turning New York into a big tuning fork. So it's like all these sonic vibrations are going to go up through all these strategically placed holes and just physically rip the city apart. Meanwhile, or near the end, Black Spectre learns that Moon Knight and Hunter's Moon have captured Vibro, and they just assume, well, now that they've gotten him under control, now that they've captured him, they're going to break him. They're going to learn where all the plans are. So we need to move up our timetable. We're going to go tonight. And that's, so, I'm assuming that maybe next issue, or maybe that's how all this, like, last days of Moon Knight gets started, or the death of Moon Knight or something like that. I can't remember what the story is. But I think it's all going to revolve around this, the Black Spectre trying to destroy the city, literally destroy it. But this was a cool issue. It's cool to see Moon Knight and Hunter's Moon work together. We also do get, because they're in the mind of Vibro, Moon Knight is able to manifest both the Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant personas as well. So we see all of them kind of work together. It was really cool. Like I like this pretty cool, and I'm very excited for the things to come. So we have our A cover right there, and then we have this Casa Grande Stormbreakers variant with Captain America on the cover. Captain America's not in this issue though, so don't don't expect him. But cool cover.
Okay, next up for me, we've got Masters of the Universe, Forge of Destiny, #1. This is a new mini-series, of course, set in the Master universe. And this is a prequel comic to the Kevin Smith Netflix show. So this is really cool. It's by Tim Seeley, art is by Eddie Nunez, who's done some of the previous
Yeah,
Master Universe books.
he's great at drawing all of those guys.
Yeah. So what makes this really neat is because it's I don't know if they ever even said it, but it's like He-Man Year One. So Prince Adam is kind of still trying to figure out all of his stuff when he transforms into He-Man.
It's like
Even,
words again.
yeah,
Yeah.
even he doesn't quite. He's not thinking like I can do more as He-Man because at one point he like needs to get back to the castle real quick, and he's like I gotta transform back, and the sorceress is like you go faster when you're He-Man. He's like, good point.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. But this actually begins with him talking to the sorceress about Skeletor, who he's basically just learned about.
Oh yeah.
And Skeletor really poses a threat to Eternia and that kingdom. So a lot of this is it goes back and forth between Eternia and like King Randor, Prince Adam's father, and the Gar Kingdom, which is kind of this over the sea kingdom where they all have blue skin. It's actually where Keldor, who became Skeletor, is from. That's why he has blue skin. Uh, and they're just and they have a prince as well, who's kind of treated pretty badly, kind of like Prince Adam. He's kind of seen he's in a band,
Oh, okay.
and they're like, "You're not very much of a prince," but it kind of bounces between the two realms as a message is sent to the Gar kingdom from Eternos and King Randor, where he basically says like hey, there's a Skeletor guy, and he is amassing like different people on his side. He's went to the Beast Men. He's went to I forgot what Merman's people are called, but he's come to those. They've all joined his side. We have the Bee people on our side, which is like Buzz Off. I forgot one other group he talks about. It's like we have them, and we would love to have you on our side. And so, but they're very hesitant. So King Randor is going to make a trip over there uh, to meet with them to kind of personally ask them to join their side. As Skeletor learns about these plans, him and Evil Lyn are going to set a trap for those. It's fun too because it's a kind of early days Spider-Man. Prince Adam is trying to learn like how do I sneak out of the house, become
All right.
He-Man, defend everybody, then sneak back in and getting back in bed. This is causing trouble between him and Tila. It's just really cool, and the prince of the Gar people is going to become a very classic He-Man character we talked about on one of our other shows.
Oh, that's
We
okay.
find out maybe why he becomes looking like that in this. If you're a fan, Tim Seeley is a big Master Universe fan. He knows all the lore, and he's really kind of refreshing that lore, updating the storylines, all of that. So if you're a fan of He-Man and the Masters Universe, I think you'll really enjoy this. It's going to be a mini series, and I'm really excited for what's happening in the next issue. But all your favorites are there. Just a really good time. We also have the Freddie Williams, the second variant for this as well. He did your He-Man meets
Thundercats,
Thundercats,
yeah.
which is a fantastic series.
Yep. All right. So next up for me is Poison Ivy number 14. In the last issue, Ivy made a deal with Killer Croc that he would give her his little shack in the swamp if he would um, find a way to shut down the development of a high rise that is kind of messing with his home, like down in the sewers, right? So at the very end of last issue, while she's sort of sneaking around investigating this high rise, she actually finds a dead body with a flower in its mouth. So that's where this issue picks up. And again, this was like, that was pre Night Terrors, and now this is after Night Terror. So I had to sort of jog my memory on that. But she determines that the flower is not poisonous, and she wonders obviously who killed this guy, but also like why a flower? Is that maybe
Yeah.
a calling card to me? Is somebody trying to get my attention? Are they trying to frame me for something? Like she doesn't know. So she starts to look through the building, but things start to get weird. Like she opened, like I said, this is a an under construction high rise where like rich people are gonna live. And she's opening doors, and like he opens one door, instead of seeing a regular room, it looks like, what's the painting or the picture where the staircases are all upside down and sideways?
Sure.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that. Like it's super weird. So she closes the door. She's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm out. I don't need that shack in the swamp. I'm just leaving. But then the hallway seems to never end, and she'll take a right, and then like the building seems like it's changing and things like that. So it's super weird. She doesn't know what's going on, and she doesn't know if she's hallucinating or what. So while all that's going on, her friend Janet from HR, she starts to investigate Udine Holdings, which is actually the company who's developing these high rises, and she learns that they're using these buildings to hide toxic waste from their steel refinery. So there's a whole other, they're not a great company, right? There's a whole other thing going on there. Um, so like I said, Ivy decides that she doesn't want anything to do with this. But then she runs into somebody, and I actually don't know who that somebody was. So I don't know if it's a first appearance, because I haven't read like the first 12 issues of this series. So I don't know if maybe that's something from there. But there is somebody there. We do see that somebody is responsible, but we still don't know why the building's acting all weird and stuff. But it was still really cool. Like it was still a really interesting issue. Like I want to know what's going on. Who's that person at the end? Why is the building all weird? That kind of thing. So if you've been reading Poison Ivy, definitely don't miss this issue, because it's really cool. And this is the only cover we have available. I believe there was some variants, but like you said on another one, we may have already pulled those. So this is the one we have available for other orders.
I'm really enjoying that series.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool.
yeah, a lot of fun. Okay, next up, I've got a Spider-Gwen Annual, which is very interesting. I wonder when they, what Spider-Gwen series is this attached to?
Right.
Because it's been a long time since she's had one, and it's an annual for.
For
Yeah. So this is, of course, part of the Contest of Chaos storyline. This is by Carla Pacheco, and art is by Rosie Camp and Marika Cresta. This one's really interesting. It's definitely not your uh, normal one of these Contest of Chaos ones, because Gwen is in her medieval history class, but she leaves early to take a nap. And I don't know if that's just like she's just a normal tired teenager, or if it's some magical nap she
Yeah.
needs to take. But when she wakes up, she finds herself in a very D&D inspired world where there's a wizard there who's like, "Oh, get your armor on because what's Renard LeBlanc is coming," which translates to White Fox.
Yeah.
Uh, and she's like, "I don't even know what's going on. I'm not from this universe," but of course they end up fighting. It's just a really weird thing until they both figure out, hey, we're not supposed to be in this world. But of course, it's not good enough for Agatha. She wants a victor to come out of this, and you'll have to find out who wins. It's really interesting. It's a very weird take on. A Spider Gwen versus White Fox book, because it kind of throws in an Elseworld
Yeah.
been to it. Medieval's not the only thing they go through. They kind of go through a um uh not flapper era, but Great Depression era type looking time frame, or like an old timey speakeasy.
Yeah.
And there's some jet skis involved. It's just kind of wild. But I'm glad whenever Spider Gwen is in another book. So that is our A cover for that. We also have this Andolfo cover. Very cute. They don't look like they're fighting there. It looks like
Nope.
they're friends at a carnival.
BFFs.
And I really like this one. I just think this is an interesting artistic take. This is the Ji Hung Lee variant with a very ballet inspired Gwen Stacy.
Very cool. My last one is Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Omega. So this is the last part of this storyline they've been telling throughout the course of Ghost Rider Wolverine, and then the Alpha issue too. So this is the end of it. This is the final showdown between Ghost Rider and Wolverine, who has been forcibly possessed by the Weapon Plus program. They have forced the Bagra Ghoul demon into Wolverine, which is we've seen this demon. We've seen, the in the Alpha issue we learn about this little boy who seems like he's possessed and he like twists people into weird sculptures and things like that. So we have learned over the course of this storyline that it's a demon called Bagra Ghoul. The Weapon Plus program has forced that demon out of the boy into Wolverine, turning him into the Hellverine, which is pretty cool. Which I think, actually, he's not on. You can't really see him on this, but there's some cool stuff in there. So Ghost Rider goes up against him, and two, the Weapon Plus program has directed Wolverine, who is now possessed by this demon, to go kill mutants. So on top of all the other Orcus stuff, there's a Hellverine hunting down mutants now too. Um, in this issue, though, it's really good. We do learn the origin of this Bagra Ghoul demon, how it became uh, attached to this little boy, Bram, who is now a teenager, because this takes place several years later. Um, we do in this get a short fight between Ghost Rider and the Hellverine, which is really cool imagery, but it only lasts a few pages. But it's still really cool. And then obviously everything, gets wrapped up with a nice pretty bow, or does it? This is another one of those that says the end dot 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 question mark. Yeah. So but just wrapping up the story. So if you've been reading it, definitely don't miss this last part because it was really cool. There's a really nice 2-page spread of Ghost Rider and Hellverine just going at it. So it was really good. So yeah, there is our A cover right there, and we do have one variant. This is from Scott Williams.
One of the first person to put the end question mark. Like they went to their editor and they're like, I think you put this wrong, and there should be a period. And they're like, They're like, but that means like, yeah, there could be more.
That's right.
Okay, so finally for me, I've got Conan the Barbarian #2. So this was actually delayed. Stores got in their copies last week, but the official release date got moved to this week. So if you want to see my review for it, go watch our last video. But I did want to remind you that this is coming out this week, and it's because a lot of stores did not get the A cover, which is this one, the claw cover. But great issue. If you're not reading Conan, definitely check it out because it's, I think, one of the best books on the stands right now.
I love it. We're only 2 issues in, and it's already one of my most anticipated books every month. Yeah.
And we did want to talk about these real quick, but I haven't read any of these. You've read these two.
Yeah.
But DC just put out the first 3 of their manga titles. So we have Batman Justice Buster, which is very cool, kind of techie Batman story where he's maybe got like this Robin protocol he's got.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, but they're all very interesting takes on DC characters.
Yeah, this Superman, I think it's called Superman versus Meshi.
Yeah.
This is a sort of a lighthearted, fun book where Superman realizes that there's a lot of great food in Japan, so he zooms off to Japan every day for lunch and has like different ramen bowls and things like that. And he wants to ask Lois to go to lunch with him one day. So that's super fun. And he also brings in some of the Justice League to introduce them, I think, to some of this food. And then this Joker
big one.
Joker one Operation Joker through a series of events. Batman falls into a vat of chemicals and turns into a baby. And Joker decides, I'm going to raise this baby Bruce Wayne. I don't know, I can't remember if he discovers his identity or not, but basically Joker is raising baby Bruce Wayne, and it's funny. There's one chapter where Joker just wants him to stop crying, and every time he puts him down, and it seems like he's going to stop crying, the doorbell rings or something happens, his phone rings or whatever. So just it's bizarre. It's the craziest like Batman Joker story that you'll probably read. But yeah, just super fun DC manga books. I haven't read that one yet though, but I really want to. But yeah, really fun. So these have been available digitally for a bit, but now the actual physical volumes are.
These are really nice. Like these are heavy
cardstock yeah, they
covers. These are really solid.
Yeah, they're good quality for sure.
So, yep, wanted to mention those. I haven't read them. Matt's read some of them, but definitely check your store because I think that is a really cool new branch that DC is checking out. Maybe telling stories that don't fit in a traditional comic format that maybe will work a little bit better this way.
Yeah, and the stories are just so wildly different than anything else DC related.
Aquaman as an Ace Attorney. This is a weird mashup. Also, the idea it would be fun if maybe like Mixel or somebody takes the entire Justice League but makes them work in a mundane office.
That would be great. I would read
I
that.
just think that sounds
Yeah.
like a really fun idea. Those are my pitches. Do not steal. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, we have found, you have found that we have found some really good books this week that you're excited to go to your shop and grab or head to our website and order because I think this is a really good week of comics. And like we said, head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these right now. Use that code I love Flux at checkout. Get 10% off your first order. And stay tuned for our video coming up on
Wednesday. Yep.
Wednesday, where we'll be going over some of the early comics that you can pre-order before the order cutoff date. But until next time,
See ya.
see ya.